In an update tonight, a judge has reduced a Montgomery murder suspect's bail. Katina Davis was arrested following a weekend triple shooting that killed one person and injured two on East Patton Avenue in West Montgomery. The bail for her murder charge was originally set at $1.5 million. Today, District Judge Pamela Higgins reduced it to just $150,000.
That's to keep on writing motherfucking status about me. Bitch, y'all hoes live like Mexicans in 2 bedrooms. In a 2-bedroom. Leave me the fuck alone, bitch.
She was 32 years old, Erica Reese of Montgomery, Alabama, loved by many, but caught in a bitter rivalry that played out in the public eye. On a quiet Sunday morning, around 1:15 a.m., police swarmed the 500 block of East Patton Avenue. Gunshots shattered the silence. Erica was dead at the scene. 2 others, one man, one woman, wounded. The suspect, a 31-year-old named Katina Davis, charged with Erica's murder, plus first-degree and second-degree assault. Bail was set at over $1.5 million. That night changed everything. Flashing Facebook threats, rumors of a love triangle, public accusations, and hidden dangers. But in the days that followed, details emerged that turned the narrative upside down. Was Katina the aggressor or the target? And in the end, who was the victim? If you don't subscribe right now, you could miss the next case that holds the kind of warnings capable of saving lives. Hit subscribe, because the next warning might come too late. Montgomery, Alabama, the state capital, a city layered with history, Southern tradition, and tightly knit neighborhoods where most folks know each other by name. On the surface, it's a place of quiet streets, family cookouts, and the steady rhythm of everyday life. East Patton Avenue sits in one of those neighborhoods, lined with modest, single-family homes, small yards, and porches where neighbors wave as they pass. It's the kind of street where you notice when something feels out of place. The kind of street where, most nights, you can hear nothing but the hum of a passing car or the bark of a dog a few houses down. But in the early hours of May 1st, 2022, that calm was broken. This block, usually dark and still at that time of night, lit up with flashing blue and red lights. Patrol cars blocked off the road. Yellow crime scene tape stretched from one side of the street to the other. Officers moved quickly, voices carrying into the night air, the kind of sounds you never expect to hear on your doorstep. To those who lived there, East Patton Avenue wasn't just the site of a shooting, it was the center of a tragedy that would grip the entire city. A place where ordinary life collided with a chain of events fueled by personal conflict, public threats, and a love triangle that spiraled into deadly violence. Erica Reese was 32 years old, a Montgomery, Alabama resident, known to her community as a devoted mother with a protective streak. Friends described her as warm and outgoing, someone who kept family close and never backed down when it came to matters of the heart. In the weeks prior to her death, Erica's behavior grew more erratic and intense. Social media platforms became a battleground. She posted messages aimed at a woman named Katina Davis, warning her to stay away from a man both women were involved with. While no official statement outlined the full scope of that relationship, those posts revealed a woman on edge, jealous, determined, and convinced the rivalry had crossed a line. People close to Erica say she felt cornered and desperate. In a public video circulating online, the narrative is even starker. Erica was allegedly moments away from using her own weapon when the fatal shot rang out. That confrontation, some say, was a case of one woman trying to neutralize a rival before she could be hurt. Even so, Erica's image outside of that conflict was of a loving woman who believed she had family, friends, and a future. But in the end, her public threats and escalating jealousy became indicators of a woman whose pain and fear were about to boil over with tragic consequences. Katina Davis was 31 years old at the time of the shooting. A Montgomery native, she was known among friends and family as independent and strong-willed, someone who carried herself with confidence but didn't seek out unnecessary conflict. But in the weeks before May 1st, 2022, her name began to surface in the same online arguments that involved Erica Reese. Rumors spread quickly through Facebook posts and local gossip. Katina was allegedly in a relationship with the same man Erica considered hers. Whether that relationship was serious or casual didn't matter to the two women. What mattered was that it existed, and for Erica, that was enough to make Katina a rival. Friends close to Katina say she wasn't actively looking for trouble. She had her own life, her own responsibilities, and she wasn't interested in public feuds. But trouble has a way of finding people, and on that early Sunday morning, it came to her doorstep, or more accurately, to a stretch of East Patton Avenue where the two women's paths would collide. Within hours of the shooting, Montgomery police arrested Katina. She was booked into the Montgomery County Detention Facility on charges of murder, first-degree assault, and second-degree assault. Her bail was set at over $1.5 million. That bail was later reduced to $150,000 after a judge's ruling, a decision that drew sharp criticism from the district attorney's office. To some, Katina was a cold-blooded killer who gunned down her rival in a burst of jealousy. To others, she was a woman who acted in self-defense against someone who had been threatening her for weeks. As the investigation unfolded, one thing became clear. The truth was far more complicated than the headlines first suggested. At the center of this deadly feud was a man whose name has never been publicly released. In the court filings, in the news reports, he's simply him, the one both women claimed a connection to, the one whose attention, or affection, became the spark in a chain reaction that would end in bloodshed. From the outside, his role in the story was strangely quiet. No public statements, no tearful interviews, no visible effort to set the record straight. Friends described him as emotionally detached, not deeply committed to either woman, not rushing to defend one over the other. Yet his presence in their lives created a rivalry that escalated from private conversations to public threats. And still, he remained on the sidelines, a silent witness to the storm building between Erica and Katina. Was he worth the lives that were lost and the freedom that would be taken? Or was he simply the excuse for a battle that was already inevitable? And then came the Facebook posts. Angry, public, and dangerous. If you can watch a tragedy like this and still not subscribe, I need you to go to the comments right now and explain why. Because every click helps keep stories like Erica's from being forgotten. Hit subscribe, because the next warning might come too late.
In the weeks before the shooting, Facebook became the main battlefield. What might have once been whispered between friends was now broadcast for anyone to see. Erica Reese took to her page with pointed, aggressive messages. They weren't polite warnings. They were direct, emotional, and aimed squarely at Katina Davis. In one post, she accused Katina of messing with what's mine. In another, she warned that if Katina didn't back off, there would be consequences. While the exact wording in every post has not been made public, the tone was unmistakable. This wasn't idle gossip. This was a public declaration of war over a man. Katina, for her part, didn't flood her own timeline with responses. But friends say she saw the posts, she heard the talk, and she knew what was being said about her. Screenshots were passed around between mutual friends, and the tension between the two women became community knowledge. Several people who knew both Erica and Katina claimed they urged them to let it go. They warned that this was getting out of hand, that the public nature of the dispute was only making things worse. But the warnings didn't land. The posts kept coming. The comments under them got hotter. And with every new post, the confrontation everyone feared was moving closer. It was the early morning hours of Sunday, May 1st, 2022. At exactly 1:15 a.m., Montgomery police received a call about shots fired on the 500 block of East Patton Avenue. Witnesses later told investigators that Erica Reese showed up that night. Whether she came looking to talk or to confront Katina Davis is still debated. But what isn't in question is that the tension between the two women had been building for weeks, and that night it finally reached its breaking point. The details of those final moments vary depending on who's telling the story. Some say harsh words were exchanged, voices rising into shouts. Others recall a flash of movement, a struggle, and then gunfire. Multiple shots rang out in the dark, sending neighbors scrambling to their windows, dialing 911. When officers arrived, they found 3 people shot. Erica Reese was pronounced dead at the scene. The other victims, a man and a woman, were rushed to the hospital with injuries. Katina Davis was taken into custody before the sun came up. Brief, muffled snippets of simulated 911 calls, a panicked voice saying, "Somebody's been shot," another voice urgently giving an address, the sound of sirens in the distance. By sunrise, East Patton Avenue was blocked off with yellow tape. Evidence markers dotted the ground, and the community was left asking the same question. How did a feud over a man no one seems to claim as their own turn into a deadly shootout? If you think things like this only happen in small towns far away, you're wrong. It could happen next door, and you won't hear about it unless you're subscribed. When officers arrived on East Patton Avenue that morning, the scene was chaotic. Flashing lights, the echo of sirens, and stunned neighbors watching from their porches. Katina Davis was taken into custody at or near the scene, placed in handcuffs, and escorted to a patrol car. From the start, law enforcement made it clear this wasn't a random act of violence. Detectives told reporters this wasn't random, this was personal. The history between the 2 women was known to investigators almost immediately, thanks to the social media trail and multiple witness statements. But there was another layer. In the early stages of questioning, possible self-defense claims began to surface. Some accounts suggested that Erica may have arrived armed and intending to confront Katina. Others insisted Katina fired first. Sorting fact from rumor would fall to the detectives and eventually the courts. As word of the shooting spread through Montgomery, the community split into 2 camps. On one side were those convinced this was a cold-blooded killing fueled by jealousy. On the other hand, those who believed Katina acted out of fear, defending herself from a rival who had publicly threatened her for weeks. Social media became a second crime scene, flooded with theories, opinions, and armchair investigations. People posted screenshots, shared old arguments, and picked apart every detail of the women's interactions. The digital noise was loud, and the truth was buried somewhere in it. But the truth inside the courtroom would be even messier. If you're watching without subscribing, prove me wrong in the comments. Tell me why you think it's okay to watch women die over love triangles and not hit that button to keep their stories alive. When Katina Davis first appeared in court, the charges were laid out in full view of the public. 1 count of murder in the death of Erica Reese, 1 count of first-degree assault, and 1 count of second-degree assault for the injuries sustained by the other 2 victims that night. Her bail was initially set at $1.5 million, a figure meant to reflect the severity of the charges and the danger prosecutors said she posed. But in a controversial ruling, a judge later reduced that amount to $150,000 with an additional $45,000 for the assault charges. That decision sparked immediate outrage from the district attorney's office, which argued the original bail should have remained in place given the violent nature of the crime. In the courtroom, the 2 narratives could not have been more different. The defense painted Katina as a woman who had been living under a very real threat. They pointed to the weeks of online harassment, the public warnings, and the possibility that Erica arrived that night intending to carry out her threats. The prosecution countered with a far different story. They argued that Katina knew exactly what she was doing, that she was not the hunted, but the hunter, and that the events of that night were the result of a calculated decision to end a rivalry once and for all. Every witness statement, every screenshot, every piece of physical evidence became part of a legal chess match, one side claiming self-defense, the other claiming premeditated murder. As the trial unfolded, attention eventually turned to the man at the center of this deadly conflict.
His name was kept out of the headlines, but both sides agreed on one thing. He had been romantically involved with both Erica Reese and Katina Davis. When called to testify, his words were striking for what they didn't contain. There were no declarations of love, no grief-stricken statements about losing Erica, no emotional defense of Katina. By all accounts, he had never made a real commitment to either woman. Friends of both Erica and Katina described him as emotionally detached before and after the shooting. He didn't attend vigils, he didn't post tributes, and he didn't publicly address the tragedy. To him, it seemed, life went on, largely unchanged. If he cared so little, why risk it all for him? In the gallery, that question lingered in the air, not just for the people in that courtroom, but for everyone following the case from the outside. As of the latest public records, Katina Davis's case remains in the court system, awaiting a full trial or final verdict. The legal process has been slow, with hearings and motions stretching the timeline well beyond that deadly night on East Patton Avenue. In the community, opinions are still sharply divided. Some believe Katina acted in cold blood, ending Erica Reese's life over jealousy and pride. Others are convinced she fired in self-defense, responding to a threat she believed was real and imminent. With no verdict yet, there are still more questions than answers. And for now, the truth remains locked inside court files and testimony yet to be given. If you're not subscribed, the next time a story like this breaks in your city, you'll be the last to know. And by then, it could be too late to stop it. 2 women, 1 man, 1 deadly night. What began as a feud played out in Facebook posts and whispered warnings ended in a barrage of gunfire on a quiet Montgomery street. Erica Reese, a mother, a friend, a woman with a life ahead of her, gone. Katina Davis, a woman now facing the weight of the justice system and the possibility of losing her freedom for decades. And at the center, a man who showed little sign of caring for either woman before or after the tragedy. It's a story that speaks to the volatile mix of jealousy and social media, and how quickly public disputes can spill over into real-world violence. In this case, every post, every comment, every angry exchange pushed 2 lives closer to a point of no return. In the end, there was no happy ending, only lives shattered over someone who didn't value either of them. Do you think this was self-defense or murder? And more importantly, was any of it worth it? If you were in Katina's place, what would you have done? I spend hours digging through court records, news archives, and public statements to bring you these cases in a way that's clear, accurate, and respectful. It's not easy, but I believe these stories deserve to be told so they're never forgotten. So if you believe in that, hit subscribe right now, because if you're not subscribed, the next case that could open your eyes or save someone you know might pass you by. And if you can watch something like this and still decide not to subscribe, I want you to go to the comments and tell me why. Tell me what's stopping you, because I read every response. Let us know in the comments what you think happened that night. Was Katina defending herself, or did she go too far? Your voice matters in keeping these conversations alive.